Bank of Chicago concluded that a $10 minimum wage would have a positive impact on GDP. In a 2013 survey, 74% of small business owners said they were not hiring because they were worried about the effect of low demand on workers. In contrast to other policy measures that would boost demand, increasing the minimum wage does not cost the taxpayers money, does not require any increased government spending, and in fact may increase tax revenue and improve the state's budget situation. The main arguments against raising the minimum wage are that it will increase unemployment. Again, as the Senator mentioned, economists have conducted numerous studies on this issue, looking at counties that were next to each other with different minimum wages, and they have found that higher minimum wages increased workers' earnings without a significant impact on employment. The results of these studies are partly responsible for the growing support among economists in support of a minimum wage. Over 600 economists, including some Nobel laureates, signed a letter supporting a $10.10 minimum wage. Recent polls show that Americans are very strongly in support of raising minimum wages. And I agree with the majority that raising the minimum wage is one way to restore fairness to the labor market and improve the lives of working families in Missouri. And in this case, fairness is good for the economy.
Very good. Is there any questions for the professor? Walk me through quickly what your productivity, so I understand the inflation, okay? Right. And you said it would be higher if we viewed productivity. How do you measure that?
That's the value of a worker per hour, so the value of their output per hour. And generally and historically, when productivity goes up, that means workers are more productive because they're more educated and more skilled, wages go up. And there's generally a trend, worker productivity and wages.
Who determines the value of what they put out? How is that calculated?
It's the value, so if you're a firm making toasters, it's the value of the toasters produced divided by the number of worker hours. Okay. And so starting in the 1970s, that close relationship between worker productivity and wages started to diverge for all workers, for average workers, but particularly for minimum wage workers. Minimum wage workers have fallen behind average workers as well.
So wouldn't it, wouldn't the productivity value increase if the pay scale was lower? Because if I'm producing so much, but my cost of...
No, it's not the cost, it's the value of the output. So it's the value of the toasters that you produce in an hour.
So the amount I'm paying the worker doesn't affect the value of the output?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, Senator, call your next witness.
All right, the next witness will be Mr. Prince, CEO of Vintage Vinyl.
Good afternoon, and thank you for hearing me. I always appreciate our lawmakers doing this. My name is Lou Prince. I own a retail store, a 7,500 square foot retail store in University City called Vintage Vinyl. I have 25 employees, none of whom makes minimum wage, and none of whom has in most of the 35 years we've been in business. We don't ask people to work for minimum wage at Vintage Vinyl because we think it's bad for our business, but mostly because it's bad for our community and it's bad for our country, and it's plain wrong for a person to work full-time and not be able to support himself. Vintage Vinyl is not alone in this. You're going to hear from lobbyists for groups like the Chamber of Commerce. Vintage Vinyl is a member of a thing called the American Sustainable Business Council, which is only 4 years old and has over 200,000 small businesses in it across the United States. The ASBC is very much in favor of a higher minimum wage. You can compare that to the Chamber of Commerce, who have about 300,000 members over about 100 years. Our primary reason for supporting a higher minimum wage is simple. It is good business, and it is especially good for our local in-state economy. Raising the minimum wage will provide an instant stimulus in the Missouri economy. Missouri businesses, it's a stimulus that will not cost taxpayers a penny. Minimum wage earners spend their paychecks in our state and in our communities and in our stores. It's fair to surmise that nearly every business has more minimum wage customers than it has minimum wage employees. That equation is simple for my business, and it's simple for almost every business in the state. Every bump in the minimum wage helps local governments. You collect more in sales, income, and use taxes. You guys more than anyone know that our local officials are starving for revenue, and this is a revenue increase that comes without a tax increase. The most local business anywhere is a landlord. You can't move it. It's a business that you're stuck where you are. Landlords are small business people, for the most part, who own a couple of duplexes or fourplexes or apartment houses. Minimum wage workers are tenants. If their wages don't go up, rents can't go up. Property taxes are based on the value of rental units, then stagnate, as do the taxes that finance these local school systems and local municipalities. Every time you raise the minimum wage, you give a finance gift to your local schools and the children who attend them. And you help landlords maintain their properties and keep the value of property in our state up. Right now, we're shipping tens of millions of dollars out of state that could be kept here. Right across the river in Illinois, you know, the same national chains that are in our state are paying $8.25 an hour, and they're not fleeing the state. They're doing the same thing there that they're doing here, which is expanding as quickly and as much as they can. Why not make those multinational conglomerates compete with our best local companies? Is it really the job of the Missouri legislature to see that out-of-state billionaires get richer at the expense of Missouri's local businesses? You know, companies like Schnucks and Deerbergs compete at fair wages with companies that pay very low wages that Missouri taxpayers, and especially Missouri small businesses, are then asked to underwrite. Underpaid Walmart workers alone cost Missouri taxpayers $6 million, over $6 million in 1 quarter in Missouri Health Net. If you add up Target, McDonald's, Burger King, Casey's for that same quarter, it's another $5 or $6 million. That's a quarter. It doesn't even include the amount that we lay out for these workers in food stamps, housing subsidies, and other benefits. This is money that is paid to people with jobs who Missourians have decided don't make enough to take care of themselves or their families. Why should I and other Missouri businesses and other Missouri taxpayers underwrite the profits of companies who are hauling millions of dollars out of our state every month? When the voters of Missouri were given a voice in setting a minimum wage, they overwhelmingly voted to raise it. In fact, they voted better than 3-1 to raise it last time it was on the ballot. And it was a cross-party vote. Think about it. On that same ballot, the minimum wage won by more than 1 million votes. It won by 3-1. Claire McCaskill on that same ballot beat Jim Talent by 50,000 votes. That means 950,000 conservative Republican voters crossed over to vote for a higher minimum wage. All we are asking is you give the voters a chance to express themselves again at the ballot box. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions of this witness?
Thank you. Your opening remarks just talked about the company you have.